Hello and welcome to Sarcastic Reviews. Today we're going to be talking about the Netflix original special, Louis C.K. 2017, starring Louis C.K. Filmed in Washington, D.C. sometime this year. It's a very funny show. Louis C.K. is one of my favorite comedians. He's always had a good show. I like the TV show he had, Louis, and his guest appearances on different shows and on different movies as well. So in this special, he shows up surprisingly in a suit and tie, which is not normal for him. Usually it's like whatever suit, like whatever sweatsuit or jeans and a t-shirt kind of thing. So that was different. And right away he goes into abortion, like pretty much immediately. He just doesn't have any anxiety or fear about going into those kind of topics. He's very funny. He doesn't really do enough to offend people, although I'm sure there will be some people who find it offensive, but not the majority. So as far as abortion goes, I mean, like he starts out saying, I think you should not get an abortion unless you need one, in which case you better get one. Like it's so wishy-washy and non-committal that he's not really making fun of one side or the other. He's making fun of the indecision and the back and forth, which is most of what he does with his stand on the more mainstream topics, the more volatile topics. So and yeah, he's joking about like how women should have the right to kill babies. That's the way he puts it. He's very blunt, and it's funny though because it's something you don't expect a person to say. So and it's original. His delivery, the wording he uses, it's funny. And he also goes into suicide and how it's a solution to so many things. Like how when people say you only have one choice, no, you actually do have another choice. You can do that one thing or commit suicide, which, and obviously that's going to be offensive to so many people, but the way he puts it, if you're a fan of that kind of humor, you have to laugh. And he talks about the value of being alive and whether or not it's and the value of life, and how like all the bad things that have happened to you have happened in life. That's what life is. So, he's got a way of, it's almost like South Park humor where he has a way of making his point, but you don't really see it until you think about what he said. And he goes on with religion. He talks about not raising his kids religiously just because he doesn't want to get up on his Sundays, things like that. And also when he talks about the religion, he talks about, and this is a funny set he does about how, in reality the Christians won because of the year system that we use. The fact that we're still counting from the birth of Jesus, the birth of Christ, that everybody does it, shows how Christians essentially won. So, and he does a funny bit about that. Talks about getting a rescue dog instead of like a nice puppy that's been raised properly, and putting it on Prozac. Talks about like the teachers and how their job is really thankless. And he's got a good bit about how once somebody's dead, you should be leaving them alone. Not talking about not expecting them to like show up at your games when you play football. Like some people talk about, how, my mom is watching from heaven and things like that. Or you shouldn't expect them to wait around for you if, you happen to be passing 10 years later or something like that. Like expecting your husband or your wife to wait around for you for that many years. Like that's a high expectation, and you should, once somebody's dead, leave them alone. It's a funny set, and he does a good job on it. He does his voices, like he's got a few different ones that are pretty funny, and he acknowledges in the show how stereotypical they are, but he says he's gonna just keep doing them because of how he thinks they're funny, and they are. and he like everything he does is cynical and negative and painted in such a broad, like, just everything's bad brushstroke that it's funny the way he does it though. If you're a fan of Louis C.K., you've seen these jokes before. Not the specific jokes, but this type of humor. He talks about relationships and how those people who think they're in good relationships just haven't reached the bad part yet. Like, he talks about email fights compared to text fights, getting new feelings in middle age. He does this bit about Magic Mike, which is really funny, about how he likes the movie and he watches it a lot, especially Matthew McConaughey, but then he doesn't watch all the way to the end because he thinks that at the end he turns gay. And that's how it ends. And then he goes into a whole thing about being gay and how it's not so much that he doesn't want it, it's just that he doesn't want to when he's almost turning 50. And he doesn't want to go through that kind of change. And there's a few jokes about transgender that leads into, but overall it's very funny. And yeah, it's I wouldn't say it's crass. It's not like Jim Norton, but it is funny. He does engage the crowd a few times, but not in a distracting way. And he's doesn't go at a really fast pace, but not a really slow pace either. Like it's more like a conversational joking than it is like a set. A set like I've got 3 minutes for this joke, 3 minutes for this joke kind of thing. It's very conversational and it's more interesting, I think, that way. So overall, it's highly recommended. It's not as good as the last couple of stand-up specials that he's done, but it is good. If you want better specials, go look those ones up. But this one is funny. It's on Netflix now. It's Louis C.K. 2017. It's the new Network's original stand-up special. If you've liked what you heard, like, share, subscribe, or all of the above. Thank you, and have a good day.